If I was starting a podcast from scratch today, I've got one thing I do differently, and that's what we're going to talk about today, right here on Podcasting for Fun and Profit. Hey, friends, it's me, Leighton Hart. I'm your host here on this podcast. It's a podcast about podcasting. How are things where you are? Right here where I live, we are tiptoeing into a change of seasons. I think for the first time in my life, I'm ready. I'm usually a die-hard fan of summer. I love hot temperatures. I love wearing shorts, golf shirts. But for some reason this year, I'm ready to move on. I'm done with it. Maybe it's because the mosquitoes have been just out of control this summer. Or maybe it's because I've had to have my air condition fixed like 4 times. No kidding. Like a lot. 4 times. I don't know. I'm ready for jeans and long sleeves. If you're with me, just scream, I hear you. Ready for fall. As loud as you can right now. Today, I want to tell you one thing I'd do differently if I was starting my podcast from scratch today. So if you're out there and you're still rooting around for ideas and information before starting your podcast, this may help. And if you already have a podcast, hey, don't worry. It's not too late to get this one thing going. All right, let's start with one of the big challenges about podcasting, which is getting your podcast discovered. Even though podcasting has been around for quite a while and is coming into its own as a mainstream marketing activity and hobby even, there's still not one single best way to discover new podcasts. There's just not. In fact, take a second and think about how you found most of the podcasts in your rotation right now. I'll tell you how it usually works for me. I have a stable of regulars that I subscribe to, and I listen to those every week. And typically those are about YouTube and small business, sprinkle in a little true crime, stuff like that. But if I need a change of pace from those, and that happens every few weeks, I'll try to find something new to listen to. And that usually means that I'm going in and I'm searching what's trending or in the charts on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Or maybe I'll ask a friend what they're listening to. Sometimes I'll hear an ad or a promo for a new podcast on another podcast, which actually that seems to be one of the most effective ways that new podcasts get discovered. So podcast discovery is, or actually my method of podcast discovery, it's an imperfect science. And there are literally thousands of really good podcasts that they're just languishing as unknowns simply because it's too hard to find out about them. Now let's think about something different. Let's shift gears here. If you wanted to find a video about something that's on your mind, not a podcast, a video, what would you do? If you wanted to find a video, what would you do? I'm betting that the answer is that you'd pull up YouTube, type in whatever you're looking for, and in a split second, you'd have hundreds, if not thousands, of potential videos to watch right there at your fingertips, all of which cover the topic you're looking for. You see, YouTube is a social network that's built on the back of a search engine. Every video exists inside YouTube, and then the YouTube algorithm is constantly working to find people to show those videos to. So the answer to the podcast discovery problem is not spamming more people on Instagram or Facebook to listen to your podcast. Ask me how I know that. It's because I've done that. The answer to your podcast discovery problem is to post your podcast to YouTube, because that's where people already are. And those people are actively searching for new things to consume, and YouTube is actively recommending content to those viewers. So, dear listener, dear viewer, the big thing that I would do differently if I was starting my podcast today is this. From day one, I would post a video of my podcast to YouTube. I've started doing that with this podcast, with Podcasting for Fun and Profit. I cannot believe the results. On the surface, when I look at it, it doesn't seem like my YouTube results are really very exciting. And what I mean by that is I get about the same number of watches on YouTube as I get listens logged in Anchor. But here's what I do get through YouTube. I get two things in particular. Every now and then, an episode will break out. So breakout episodes are possible on YouTube. Now, most of my episodes, I said, do about as well on video as they do strictly through audio, which means I get anywhere between 50 to 100 listens and then about the same number of views. So right off the bat, by posting to YouTube, I've doubled my audience, because I doubt very many people are listening to me and then jumping over to YouTube to watch me. So I've doubled my audience just by posting to YouTube. But I have one episode out of the 9 that I've posted to YouTube for this particular channel, for this particular podcast, that has 4,200 views on YouTube, which is crazy. So, most get between 50 and 100. This one has 4,200 times the typical results, or 42 times the typical results, excuse me. The second thing you get when you post over to YouTube, better analytics. Getting analytics on my podcast through Anchor it's okay. It's not great. It's okay. But I'm not really sure how much I trust their numbers. And there's only a handful of takeaways that I can get from Anchor's analytics. With YouTube analytics, on the other hand, I can see exactly how many views I'm getting, how many subscribers I have, how long viewers are sticking around, what content they like. And this is kind of wild too. I can see what other content they consume on YouTube, what other channels they subscribe to, and how they found me, all of which are things that can help shape my content going forward. So, in short, the tip for the day is this. If you want a chance at better growth, post video of your podcast to YouTube. You will tap into a huge audience and you'll get the insights that you need to make the content that they want to see. Man, I'm out of breath. That's it for today. I'm Leighton Hart from Market Street Media. This is Podcasting for Fun and Profit. Go make a killer podcast today, friends.